With Tolkien presents the Pocket Guide to Middle-earth. From the First Age, Feanor, no! To the Second Age, Anatar, yes! To the Third Age, Hobbits? We'll explore Arda and Tolkien's Legendarium, but we'll do so in an easy-to-understand way for new readers. Introduction to Arda. God. In Tolkien's story, there is one supreme deity called Eru Ilúvatar, or the One, who is the source of all creation. While not explicitly visible in The Lord of the Rings, Eru was providentially guiding all things towards goodness. The Ages of Arda. The history of Arda was measured in ages, each spanning several thousands of years. Geography. In the beginning, Arda was flat. At the end of the Second Age, it was reshaped into a globe. In this reshaping, the Blessed Realm, containing Valinor, was removed physically from the earth and remained only accessible to the elves, who could reach it via a hidden path. It's also important to note that Middle-earth was but one continent within Arda. The world created. Eru instructed the Ainur, angelic beings, in divine music, and through this music the world was created. The world was called Ea, or Arda. Valar and Maiar. Some of these angelic beings came to dwell within the world to shape and govern it. They were divided into two classes. The Valar were the ruling beings, sometimes called gods, and along with them came the Maiar, who were of lesser stature and often servants of the Valar. The children of Ilúvatar. These were the peoples of Middle-earth: men, elves, hobbits, and ultimately dwarves. Each of these races were distinct from one another, although hobbits belonged to the same classification as men. Mortality. The lifespan of elves was tied to the life of the earth, so they were essentially immortal. Men and dwarves were mortal, and their fate after death is left unexplained in Tolkien's works. The Legendarium. Tolkien referred to the collection of his writings or myths concerning Arda as his Legendarium. Evil. Through the rebellion of one of the Ainur, Melkor, later called Morgoth, evil entered into the world and Arda was marred. Despite the deeds of Morgoth and Sauron later being evil, Tolkien did not believe that any rational being could themselves be wholly evil. Additionally, he understood evil as a deprivation or distortion of goodness, and not an opposing separate force. Goodness. When the world was created, it was good. For Tolkien, to be alive was to retain and participate in goodness. This applies to both his fictional world and his understanding of our own world. The shaping of the world. After the music of the Ainur, the Valar set to work shaping and preparing the world. While most of the Valar labored out of a generally unselfish motive, Melkor sought to claim the whole world for himself and to be worshipped. Melkor continuously dismantled and inhibited the work of the Valar as they shaped the earth, but nevertheless it was slowly made ready. Ultimately, the Vala Tolkos scared Melkor away, and he forsook Arda, hiding in the outer darkness for some time. The Spring of Arda. In this time, the Valar lived in Almaren, a large island right in the middle of the world. The Valar created two lamps by which the world was lit in an endless day. Melkor returned to Arda, establishing his stronghold of Utumno in the north of Middle-earth. He then destroyed these two lamps, changing the geography of Arda in the process. The Valar then relocated to Aman, the westernmost region of the earth. The Years of the Trees. In Aman, the Valar established the region called Valinor. The Valar grew two trees by which Valinor was lit, called Laurelin and Telperion. Dwarves. Aule created the dwarves, but they were not allowed to awaken before the coming of elves and men. The elves awoke in the far east of Middle-earth beneath the starlight. The Valar summoned the elves to migrate to Valinor. Some accepted, while others refused. This is referred to as the sundering of the elves. 3 groups of elves came to Valinor: Teleri, Vanyar, and the Noldor. The events of the Silmarillion are largely concerned with the Noldor. Orcs. According to the Silmarillion, Melkor captured and tormented some of the elves until they were corrupted and enslaved. These were the first orcs. That being said, the origin of the orc is debated among readers and scholars. Tolkien himself was troubled by the theological implications of an entire race being evil and considered many possible explanations for their nature and origins. Because their elf origin is published in the Silmarillion, however, it is generally the most accepted version. Melkor imprisoned. Finally, the Valar made war with Melkor on behalf of the elves, and he was captured and sentenced to 3 ages in prison, 300 Valian years. After serving his sentence in prison, Melkor was pardoned and released in the year of the trees 1400. Melian and Thingol. Meanwhile, in Middle-earth, the elf lord Thingol was enchanted by Melian the Maya. They were wed and had a daughter named Luthien, who was born in year of the trees 1200. This is the only recorded marriage between one of the Maiar and one of the elves. The War of the Jewels. Feanor and the Silmarils. In Valinor, the Noldoran elf Feanor was born to Finwë and his first wife Miriel in year of the trees 1169. Feanor was the greatest craftsman of all elves and was kindled with a spirit of fire. He made the Silmarils, 3 jewels which preserved the light of the 2 trees of Valinor, and wore them upon his brow for all to see. The unrest of the Noldor. Melkor lusted for the Silmarils and orchestrated the unrest of the Noldor, who he hated. The death of the trees. Melkor destroyed the 2 trees of Valinor with the help of the great spider Ungoliant. In this time, he also killed Finwë and stole the Silmarils. After the death of the trees, the sun and the moon were made to light the earth, and Melkor was renamed Morgoth. Feanor's rebellion. The theft of the Silmarils and the murder of his father prompted Feanor to defy the Valar and to lead many of his people into a hopeless war against Morgoth. Feanor swore an unbreakable oath to reclaim the Silmarils, along with his 7 sons, and led a great portion of the Noldor to Middle-earth in pursuit of vengeance. This occurred around the year of the trees 1495 to 1496. The Noldor in Beleriand. The Noldor arrived in Middle-earth and dwelt in the northwest region called Beleriand. Feanor died shortly after. Major First Age events. Between this time and through the end of the First Age, many major events take place. These include the awakening of men and dwarves, the rise and fall of both Nargothrond and Gondolin, the war between Morgoth and the elves spanning thousands of years, the quest of Beren and Luthien, and the flight of Eärendil to Valinor to plead before the Valar to save them from Morgoth. The War of Wrath. The Valar were moved by Eärendil's plea, and the First Age ended when they came to Middle-earth to make war against Morgoth. He was ultimately cast into the void, but Beleriand was destroyed in the process. Eärendil's fate. The ship of Eärendil was hallowed and filled with light. He was placed at its helm, and with the Silmaril at his brow, he journeyed across the sky as a star. The Silmarils lost. The 3 Silmarils were forever lost. One now shone in the sky as a star, one was cast into the ocean, and one was thrown into a fiery chasm deep in the earth. After the War of Wrath, the Valar pardoned the elves in exile, and many of them returned to the Blessed Realm. Galadriel was among the few who refused this pardon, choosing to remain in Middle-earth instead. The Second Age. The Rise of Sauron. In the void left after Morgoth's defeat, his most cunning servant Sauron rose to power. While Sauron had sought to rule with good intentions, hoping to rehabilitate and reorganize Middle-earth, he ultimately became a shadow of Morgoth in his tyranny. Númenor established. The men who aided the elves and Valar against Morgoth were rewarded with the island kingdom of Númenor. Númenor's first king was Elros, the brother of Elrond and son of Eärendil. The people of Númenor were granted a longer lifespan than other men, but were still mortal. Rings of Power. Sauron presented himself to the elven smiths of Eregion as an emissary of the Valar called Annatar, and through their collaboration the Rings of Power were forged. In secret, Sauron forged the One Ring, which would control all other Rings of Power. The Fall of Eregion. When the elves understood Sauron's deception, they removed and hid their own rings. Sauron destroyed Eregion and killed the great smith Celebrimbor. Sauron reclaimed the other rings, but Celebrimbor would not disclose the location of the 3 elven rings. After the fall of Eregion, Rivendell was established by Elrond. The Nazgul. Through the 9 rings, Sauron was highly successful in enslaving men. These became the Nazgul. Sauron in Númenor. Sauron allowed himself to be brought as a prisoner to Númenor, where he orchestrated their downfall from within. The Fall of Númenor. Eventually, the Númenorians made war against the Blessed Realm in an attempt to claim immortality for themselves. Because of this rebellion, Ilúvatar removed the Blessed Realm from the earth, violently reshaping its geography. This resulted in an inescapable wave, which destroyed Númenor. Sauron was also pulled beneath the great wave, but his immortal spirit returned to Middle-earth. The Flight of Elendil. Those who escaped the downfall of Númenor fled to Middle-earth, where they founded the kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor. Elendil was the first High King of Gondor and Arnor, and had fled along with his sons Isildur and Anarion. The Last Alliance. At the end of the Second Age, the last alliance of elves and men resisted Sauron, and the ring was cut from Sauron's finger. He was defeated, but only for a time. The Ring. During the last alliance, Elendil was killed by Sauron, and his son Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's finger. Rather than destroy the ring, which represented the last vestiges of Sauron, Isildur kept it as a weregild for his brother and father. The Third Age. The heirs of Isildur. Isildur was killed by orcs in the Anduin River along with his 3 oldest sons. His heir was hidden in Rivendell, and the line of Isildur was preserved for thousands of years until the birth of Aragorn. The ring was lost. The ring awaits. The ring lay abandoned in the river for more than 2,000 years. As time passed, Sauron began to regain his strength, always searching for the ring. Sauron the wizard also sought the ring, with which he hoped to supplant Sauron. Gollum. Eventually the ring came to Sméagol, who then took the ring into the Misty Mountains, where it lay hidden for over 500 years until it was found by Bilbo Baggins. Smeagol eventually forgot his own name and was called Gollum. Bilbo's adventure. The unassuming hobbit Bilbo Baggins found the ring while lost nearby Gollum's cave in 3rd Age 2491. The ring was then brought to the Shire, where it remained hidden. War begins. The War of the Ring began when Sauron's forces attacked Osgiliath in 3rd Age 3018. Frodo's journey. On Bilbo's 111th birthday, the ring was passed to Frodo, who was later tasked with its destruction. Together with the Fellowship of the Ring, Frodo began his journey to Mordor. The ring destroyed. Though Frodo ultimately succumbed to the power of the ring, his quest was accomplished when Gollum fell, along with the ring, into the fires of Mount Doom. The return of the king. The line of kings was restored with the coronation of Aragorn as High King of both Gondor and Arnor, reuniting these two kingdoms. The scouring of the Shire. After the coronation of Aragorn, the 4 hobbits liberated the Shire from Saruman and his band of ruffians, and began the hard work of restoration. After some time, life in the Shire began to flourish again. The departure of the Ringbearers. Frodo ultimately chose to seek healing for his Morgul wound in the west, along with Bilbo and the 3 elven ringbearers, Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel. Sam's return to Bag End. The 3rd Age ended with the departure of the Ringbearers. Marking the beginning of the 4th Age is Sam Gamgee's return home to his young family at Bag End. Sam had 13 children and served as mayor of the Shire for 7 terms. After the death of his wife Rose, Sam Gamgee passed over the sea, the last of the Ringbearers. After the death of Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli sailed into the west as well. Merry and Pippin were buried alongside Aragorn. If you enjoyed this video, please consider joining the Tea with Tolkien community. We are home to a free virtual book club, reading resources, online community, exploring Tolkien's faith, living like a hobbit, engaging with Tolkien adaptations, and more. This pocket guide is available as a free booklet on my website, teawithtolkien.com/shop. It's been a labor of love, but such a joy to see it all come together into such a compact resource created with the purpose of helping make Middle-earth approachable for readers.